splendor of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, let all the earth rejoice.
Marci Dingle. Marci passed July 18th, and which was recent. We would have been married for a year on August 23rd, which has just passed, and it was an experience, and so I'm here to encourage people out there that God will bring you through any situation, and He will give you the strength to endure. One of the many questions that people ask me is, how did you get the strength to endure this? Not only endure, the whole situation in the hospital, but being able to have enough strength to preach your wife's funeral. I preached my first funeral, and it just so happened to be my wife's funeral. And it was an experience, the Spirit of God was definitely on me, because I couldn't have done it just on my own strength. But I thank God for giving me the strength to do it. And, the message was basically geared towards us submitting to God's will. Whatever God allows, whatever His will is for our lives, we have to submit to it. In a lot of situations, it's unfortunate that people die. But in this situation, God's hand was totally on Marci's life, and it was His will for her to be home with Him. But it was an experience. It wasn't easy to get to that point to submit to God's will. The day Marci died, I was in the chapel, which I would frequently go during the time that she was in there. And I always, me and God's relationship, I'm real with God. Of course, He's always real with me. And I never questioned the whole situation, and I never spoke against the situation. I always let God know how I felt. Even through that whole situation, I just let Him know how I felt. I didn't question Him, Lord, why are you doing this? Like, what's going on? What's this? What's that? Even though a lot of family members around me was questioning that, I never questioned God. And so I let Him know how I felt. I said, Lord, I don't want my wife to go. I want her to be with me. And I didn't want her to leave. And so I just continue to think about how good God is, and things that He's done in our lives, and just, He's done some wonderful things in our lives, and even in her life. She was a walking miracle, so, I was thinking of all those things, and, so I just got to the point where, I was like how Christ was before He was going to be crucified in the garden. And, I said, Lord, you know what, it's not about my will, but Your will be done. And that's the main message that I want to send out through this video clip, is that as children of God, we have to learn to submit to God's will no matter what the situation is. I'm here as an example. I lost my wife. I've known my wife for over 10 years. We've only been married. We were getting ready to go on 1 year, of being married, and God took her home to be with Him. And so I got to the point in the chapel where it was like, Lord, I told Him, I said, not my will, but Your will be done. I just kept saying, Lord, not my will, but Your will be done. I told Him to submit to Your will, whatever it is that You have for my life. Whatever, Your will be done. And about 10 minutes later, Marci's father, my father-in-law, came in and said Marci had passed. And of course, I in my flesh, I was sad, and I shed some tears and this and that, and but in my spirit, I was content. I felt the peace that passes all understanding, and now I can honestly say I understand. I understand that peace, and I understand the scriptures when it talks about that peace, because I'm experiencing that now, even now. I thank God for that peace and strength that He's given me. And so I just want to be an encouragement to the people as Marci was too. She was all about being an encouragement. She was saying, we would always talk and conversate about her situation, what she's going through, this and that. She would get to the point where she would say, you know what, whatever God has for me, whatever He had me going through, I thank Him for it, because I know this is not for me, this is for somebody else. And that just really blessed me. My wife would say that, and that's where I stand. Me going through this whole struggle with losing my wife. It's not about me. I'm totally submitted to God's will. I'm willing to allow God to let me to use me for somebody else, not for my own will, not to let me do what I want to do, but for God and what He wants to do and His will. So thank you for your time, and I would love to share more of my testimony with you, whether it's at your church or a seminar or workshop. God has really put it in my heart to get this testimony out, and He's put it in Marci's heart to get it out too. So now I'm still here fulfilling the purpose that God has for me. That's another purpose, and that's another assignment that I have to do. So I have information on the video on how you can reach me and contact us. And like I said, just continue to put God first in every situation and in every relationship. God bless you.
The splendor of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, let all the earth rejoice. He wraps Himself in light, and darkness tries to hide and trembles at His voice.